Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. I'm out today doing a little bit of low development with the latest Hornady ELD-VT bullet. This is the 224 bullet in 62 grains. It's 224 caliber, so this is in a 223 Wild rifle. This rifle is running an 8-inch twist rate. It's my own rifle. It's one I've done an awful lot of shooting with, a lot of low development with, various cartridges, calibers through the time. Using Vit 40 powder, Lapua brass CCI BR4 primers. It's a combination that has just never failed me, so it was my starting point for using this new bullet. This new bullet is designed to be an ultra high BC without being excessively heavy. This bullet is actually rated for an 8-inch twist rate, so we shall see how it gets on. Anyway, let's do some shooting. I've got an FX true ballistic chronograph, so that's going to give me all my data readout for my extreme spread, standard deviation, ballistic coefficient, etc. This has got Schmidt & Bender exoscope on top, 21 power, so I've got plenty of magnification to make sure I've got the aiming precision I need. I'm shooting at 100 meters. Let's go for it. Give that a little tweak, so that's not quite picked up muzzle velocity. Well, those appear to have all gone into one hole, so I'm quite happy with that to start with. Don't think we can grumble there. We've got no sign of any problems on the primers. I'll get some velocity readings as we go along. I'm just doing a bit of a ladder test here, working up through the powder weights. Give it a little pause now. It's not very hot. I'll let it cool down between the 3-shot groups. It's running 2,962 feet per second now, with a 23 foot per second extreme spread across those 3 shots. I've just dropped a couple of clicks off the scope because this is the same loading as the last shot, so I want to just drop this into 0 position now. Commit embedding the scope on top, it's got centimetre click, so 2 centimetres looks about right at 100 metres. That looks satisfactory for hunting ammunition, put it that way. Those last 6 rounds have gone through the chronograph. They're all identical loading. I've just put 2 clicks down on the scope just to get ideal 0 on it. So that's running on 6 shots, 2,962 feet per second average speed, 23 foot per second extreme spread, standard deviation 7.83, ballistic coefficient on average is 0.393. Better put my reading glasses on. And that's going subsonic at 897 meters. I think that's satisfactory for what I need the round for. So the next job will be to go out and shoot some foxes with it, hopefully. I was checking the primers at all times I was firing through this string. I have done a little bit of low development before, so this was kind of the final stages of low development using N140. I'm not experimenting too much with seating depth, but I'm loading at overall length at 2.400 inches, just mainly because it fits in the AICS magazine. I'm not chasing lands or anything like that. It's not something I feel I need to do on a varmint or foxing rifle round. I think a lot of people get very caught up in a lot of the tolerances you can change with a reload, but I think one of the first things you have to do is make sure you can find components that will give you a good ballpark, nicely working load without being too critical. That is of course somewhat bullet dependent sometimes. Tangent ogive bullets are generally a lot easier to make work quickly than secant ogive bullets, but the hybrid bullets do seem to be working a lot better these days, where you've kind of got secant at the tip to give you the maximum ballistic coefficient, and you've got a tangent blend where it's moving in towards the actual body of the bullet, where it engages the rifling at the start of the lead on your barrel. I've got to say a big thank you to Edgar Brothers for sending me these Hornady bullets as part of my review and testing procedure. I am a huge fan of Hornady ammunition, and of course they are one of the great sponsors of my channel that keep me fueled up, so I can really say I am fueled by Hornady. These 62 grain ELD-VT bullets are designed for the best ballistic coefficient from realistic weights in a hunting bullet, and the twist rate is actually listed on the back here. This is rated for a 1 in 8 inch twist rate, so you might need that, you probably will, and it certainly isn't going to work in a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 12 because they are quite long and spindly, and of course it's also got the ballistic coefficients listed on the back there. I'll have to see how those match up with what the chronograph generated. I've swapped to Forster dies with these bullets because my previous dies were actually leaving some marks on them and plat, and the Forster dies do seem to have completely negated that, and I'm not having any problem with damage to the bullet, which is of course a hollow point as well, so you don't want anything damaging it and giving any inconsistencies both on ballistic coefficient and bullet shape as it engages through the rifling and also as it flies through the air. This is my own rifle. It's a 223 Wild, which is essentially a regular 223 with a slightly different throat and lead dimensions on it. Dave Wild at Valkyrie Rifles built this for me several years ago. The stock has been bedded as well. This is a Macmillan A35. I've got an AICS magazine in it, and I'm using Lapua brass CCI primers, and there's of course an MTM box there. So thanks to Hannum's Reloading for those, as well as the Vitivori N140 powder. Scope is a Schmidt & Bender 321 Exos, and we've got some sports match rings on here. Lots of people seem fascinated by what height scope mounts I'm using, and because it's very personal to be honest, but this is a 34mm tube on these sports match rings. These are sports match low rings, so these are the lowest rings I could find at the time, which will get me down close to the barrel without being excessively high off the action or the cheek piece. And of course your Picatinny rail does add some height when you've got your scope mounting solution dialed in. That's only a 50mm front end on this scope, so it's not super huge, but this rifle works for me extremely well. Now, one day and one group on target does not give the absolute story of what a cartridge and a loading will do when you start reloading, but I have enough experience with this rifle to kind of know what it's like, what it's going to do, and that, the same ammunition, maybe I shot these ones ever so slightly better than those ones, maybe the wind was ever so slightly different, but that is very much a reliable place now to start gaining a bit more long-range dope and making sure I'm happy with that bullet throughout its likely usage range. This target's just 100 meters. That's probably about a 1 centimeter center to center group for 3 shots there. And given the fact there's a few little gusts around, the first few groups were a tiny bit high anyway. I took 2 clicks off elevation wise for this last group. And as I say, this ammunition here and that were the same load actually at the final of my development. And you know, I'm going to load up probably 50 of those, just get out and go shooting them, because it's all very well playing to the nth degree with every single little variable, but if you'd actually go shooting and experience a bit of the wind and the real world, you tend to realise that sometimes it's more fun going shooting than spending night after night out the reloading bench playing with every little variable under the sun, which of course is still affected by the variability of manufacturing standards on every component you have. Just like to say a massive thanks to Hannum's Reloading as well for the Vitivori powder. They've also loaned me some MTM target stands and a lot of Birchwood Casey shoot and see targets, which do make zeroing and load development and seeing where your bullets are actually landing, especially with these smaller cartridges, calibers, they do make life so much easier. So thank you to Hannum's Reloading for those.